Florida is on the absolute precipice of busting or booming right now. And I'm going to explain how the new tax exemptions can push this either one way or the other. So let's start with the taxes. They passed a $250,000 homestead exemption that you can now utilize in Florida if you're going to live here, okay? If you live here now, you can use it immediately. If you buy before the end of the year, you can use it immediately. However, if you don't buy before the end of the year, then you won't be able to use that for 5 years. So there's massive incentives for people that are considering purchasing in Florida to go ahead and make that purchase, okay? And of course, the other indicators that are not so positive is going to be the interest rates and the prices, okay? But there is a point where supply and demand start to really take effect here, and we're seeing that play out on a large scale right now. What we have right now is deadlock. We have supply in almost all of Florida and demand, which is pending transactions in all of Florida, almost on a weekly basis, dead even, or pending transactions slightly overtaking the new listings coming on the market. What that means and what is the most important thing when you're considering buying a property is understanding that ratio. Because if pending transactions overtake on a consistent basis active listings, then prices will go up. Simple as that. If there's too much supply, meaning too many active listings on the market, then prices are generally going to go down. It's really that simple. You can look at all these websites and go through all these indicators, but if you focus simply on pending transactions and its ratio to new listings, you can predict which way the market's going to go. And right now, it is deadlocked even. So we're right on the precipice of what could happen in Florida, being that the homestead exemptions and the surge to get homes purchased before the deadline of this year to take advantage of that and not have to wait 5 extra years could be that more buyers pour into the market, which would bring the market to a stabilization point and possibly bring prices back up. However, the homestead exemption, if you think about it, it writes off $250,000 worth of value on a property. But in reality, if you look at the value of most homes in Florida, it comes in at around $400,000, okay? And you have to keep the school budget and all that stuff in place, which is about 40% of the tax bill. So most people, if you calculate it out, are going to get a relief of about half of their taxes, okay? So the average tax bill in Florida at $400,000 average home is about $4,000 per year. So right now, it's going to save you about $2,000 per year, which equals about $150 per month. That's really nice to have. And people that are in their homes are going to take full advantage of that. It's going to drop your monthly payments down by about $150 per month, okay? What that also will do is it'll increase the amount of sellers who do not want to sell their house, because now things become more affordable. They can wait around a little bit more for it to take advantage of an interest rate drop. If they just refinance or they have a high interest rate, they can afford to sit around and kind of wait out the market and see what happens before they either A, sell, or B, refinance at a lower interest rate. So looking at that information, you can say that most likely moving forward, we're probably going to have less listings on the market, okay? We're going to have less listings on the market, which means that prices and the listings and pending ratio should maintain equilibrium, and we should see that the prices just stay stagnant for a long time. That's the expectation. Now, the problem with all of that is that Florida and the market here is it's still too high on price. The affordability rates are too high. The cost to afford a home, the average homeowner, the average household income would need to be about $90,000, and it's only at about $80,000, okay? So there's still an affordability issue. There's still high interest rates. And what I really see that's a big factor that we're looking at is over the past several weeks, going back about 6 weeks, the actual mortgage applications have declined significantly, okay? Since the Iran conflict, they've declined significantly, and that's simply because the interest rates crossed back over 6.25%, and they're hovering there. They're hovering at about 6.5, to 6.75%. So the problem is that even though there's a low number of listings, there's also a very low number of buyers, okay? Historically low. So the reason that the market is stabilizing here in Florida is not because it's attractive on prices. It's not because there's property taxes coming in. It's simply because people are not listing their house for sale. If there's any reason, or there just happens to be a flood of properties that come on the market at a slower rate, maybe it's 100 homes per week over the average of pending transactions, very, very quickly there would be a lot of pressure on prices. It's just that fragile because the buyers are not pouring into the market. The market is stabilizing simply because less sellers have been putting their homes on the market. That's the only reason it's there. So even though we're starting to see prices stabilize, it's very, very fragile. It's very fragile. And all it takes is homes to come on the market at a small rate to increase the amount of supply listings on the market that would offset the demand by a lot. It's very, very fragile. So in my opinion, there is reasons to believe that the market is going to stay stagnant like it is and consolidate for a little while, simply because there's going to be more incentive with these homestead taxes coming in for people to not put their house on the market, for people to keep their home, for people to stay in their home, for it to be more affordable for sellers who currently have a home. And if something changes with that, if there is a reason for people to start really putting their houses on the market in areas in Florida, and there's no reason for buyers to step in the market, i.e. interest rates don't go down quick enough, or prices they feel are still too high, even if interest rates do come down, if we don't see at the same rate that new listings come on the market, and we don't see buyers come into the market at the same time, we will probably see that crack in the overall market. We'll see it crack a little bit, and we'll start to see prices to go back down. That is a little bit of a concern I have, and the fact that there hasn't been many mortgage applications over the past 6 to 7 weeks is a big sign that buyers still feel that the market is too expensive in Florida. They still don't want to pay the interest rates that are out there, and it just takes time for these things to level themselves out. So most likely we're going to be in a period of consolidation, which means if you're buying a house, you can still get really good deals out there. You can still get concessions. You can still get price reductions off the list price. You can still get that kind of stuff right now in this consolidating market. And if you are selling your house, you're most likely going to get market value because your competition is going to be a lot less. There's going to be less houses on the market right now. You could put it up, you're going to get market value because there's going to be buyers out there that are looking for houses and they're not going to have enough to pick from. So just simply supply and demand gives you opportunity as a seller. So that's it for this week. And of course, we live and work in Tampa, Florida. We're in real estate. We do this every day. I look at this stuff every day, every single day. I look at this information. So these videos come from a professional standpoint, not just people that are shooting videos. We work in real estate. That's all we do. We invest, we are realtors, we do it all. So if you're here, if you're in Tampa, you're looking to buy or sell, we love the opportunity. If you're looking for an investment property, if you are an investor, anything you do in real estate, we cover it. So give us a shot and we'd love to take care of you. All right, guys, take care.